You set foot on foreign soil. Only this land isn't ruled by any country or government. In this land we celebrate music. In this land we celebrate games. In this land we celebrate those who compose video game music. Welcome to the VG Embassy. Alright, welcome and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the VG Embassy. This is a show centered around video game music and the amazing online community of fans and podcasters that enjoy it. My name is Ed, and on each episode I'll take the role of Prime VGM Minister and invite a guest VG Ambassador onto the show to share with us their own video game music culture, or I may share a part of my own culture on a solo show. Today is definitely not a solo show. I've got a whole delegation of VG ambassadors here, ready to have a party.
Word. Yeah.
It's a party.
So I've got Mr. Rob Nichols from Rhythm and Pixels.
Hi.
Hi.
I was doing a couple things there.
I've got Mr. Pernell, also from Rhythm and Pixels.
How do you do? How you guys doing?
We're doing great, thank you.
Grandpa?
Grandpa Pern, is that you?
The very same.
I've got Todd, not from Rhythm and Pixels.
I am not from Rhythm and Pixels.
Todd from Todd's Page Turner.
Right.
That doesn't exist. That's right.
That's the biggest PTR in-joke we're going to have tonight.
Oh, man.
And also Cam, not from Rhythm and Pixels, but also a VG ambassador.
No editing in this episode.
Probably a lot or very little, depending on what I feel like.
Absolutely. Understood.
This is technically a Rob Nichols VG ambassador show, but we've kind of turned it into a big party.
So while I'm talking, the rest of you can just turn around. Just for a moment.
Yeah.
Balls to the walls.
We're going to try to take the spotlight right from you.
No, that's right. We had talked about Hideki Naganuma.
Yes.
Just because we love his music, and I don't know how it got chosen.
I think it was I was either on a guest spot on your show.
Might have been.
Or I just overheard you guys talking about it on one of your shows. But you mentioned you really liked Hideki Naganuma, and I was a fan too, so I was like, why don't we just get together and do a show?
Absolutely. We had the artist Too Mellow on an episode of our show, and he came up a couple times because the whole focus of that show was essentially his style. It was like late 90s, early 2000s, fun, funky techno, like sample-based, big beat, Naganuma-san. That's what we're going.
The Naganuma sound is what he calls it.
The Naganuma sound, yeah.
I thought you said Naganuma-san. Like,
yeah.
Are we already going there? Honorifics?
He deserves the respect, man. He
does,
fantastic composer.
Absolutely.
So we're going to play a bunch of tracks from his. Some are pretty well known, some are pretty deep cuts.
Yeah, I wanted to do... What I like about podcasting or doing our own podcast was it's kind of an excuse to kind of research and find new music.
You guys have a podcast?
We do.
We do.
It's it's hosted by NPR. We talk about current events.
Also, culinary wonders. Magic in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yes.
We mixed the latest Trump tweets with Rice Krispie treats. It's called Trump Treats.
It's very disgusting.
That sounds relaxing.
Yeah, it looks delicious, tastes terrible.
Yeah.
That's right.
They all come out orange for some reason.
No, but like what I love about doing this is researching the composers and finding new music and then finding more, and then it's kind of following that rabbit hole of I like this and I also like this and like where did this come from? And so this is what better place to start than the source of the funk.
Absolutely. And so...
Meeting with the bathroom?
The funk source. Yeah.
Not that funk. The good funk.
Oh, the
good funk.
Yeah.
And because Naganuma composes with such a party atmosphere to his tracks,
Yes,
we figured we'd have a little party and get a bunch of people together. Tomorrow is the Retro World Expo panel that we're all going to be appearing at.
Very excited about that.
So we're all hanging out in the VG Embassy basement now, sweating our partying butts off.
Yeah, the AC's
because there's
busted
no
in the
AC down
embassy,
here,
yeah.
Unfortunately. So, we're just going to gather around the mic and have some fun. So, Rob, you've got a little info on Naganuma. You want to
I do, yeah.
fill us in?
Yeah, so, he's got a lot of going on through Wikipedia, but a lot of it came through a really early interview he did in 2002 on that, was it like some site called Rocket Baby. But what we discovered was that it was like in the early 90s, he was just bartending at a club and then started DJing and decided that he wanted to get into music and get into the J-pop scene.
So he was kind of being surrounded by this music.
Yeah.
I guess it just infected him,
He loved the style of it, and he wanted to focus on it, and so he started sending demo tapes out. And I think he got picked up by Sony and did a few things for them, like some commercial stuff. But then in '98, he sent some music out to Sega, where Sega then picked him up and they signed him on to do some voice editing. And he worked on on little digital handheld like Tamagotchi style stuff. So nothing really that we want to focus on a podcast about. But it was in 2000 when he started working on. It's 99. He started working on Sega Rally, and then around 2000 he picked up Jet Set Radio, and it really took off from there.
Yeah. He started off as kind of like, being just a contributor to games where there were a lot of composers featured, and then pretty soon he was getting his own music direction positions and sole composing positions and stuff.
But something about what he does to me is maybe it's because of the games themselves and that during that time that I really relate that time of my life and that era with his sound.
Yeah. So, Pernell, any experience with Naganuma?
Yeah.
I would say the majority I would have to go with, as probably most here would say, came with Jet Set Radio. So back when the Dreamcast was still fairly new in the States, Jet Set Radio, grind name,
Whatever it's called.
Jet Set Radio was big, was pretty much heavily talked about. It was this next hot part that was coming, and of course, due to the ease of access and the burn scene back then, Japanese burns were popping up on IRC, so it was an easy grab, put it in the system, and I was immediately exposed to this wonderful world of cel-shaded awesomeness, graffiti style ripping from the seams, and the thing that pulled it all together was this OST that just blew my mind. At the time, I hadn't experienced anything like that in a game. I personally feel like it was amazing.
It's so fresh. Like, I mean, say what you want about the gameplay of that. It's kind of rough. It's extremely difficult. But the soundtrack plus the visuals was just an amazing package. And cell shading still, I think it's just like, I'm a sucker for it.
It was like MTV Liquid Television come to life.
Yeah, I'm still like obsessed with it. It's just, and now it's
Still
so
looks
good.
beautiful.
Yeah, now it's like really, really good. But back then it was like, oh, cool, it's 3D and
It's
it's
felt like a
cartoon.
revelation, like a revelation of like this is what style can look like in a game if done right.
Right.
And this game, due to how it was designed from the ground, was pretty much in English, just wasn't localized.
Right.
So I played it half near to death. Most of it just to hear music. I would go to sections like stages I'd already beaten just to replay areas and hear the music play over them.
I remember when hearing when it was getting an American release and like they changed the name and some of the music got swapped out. I was a little upset about that. But of course, it was mainly just licensed tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the end, it's like we were okay in the sense that most of the stuff that was solid stayed. They added more, though. Some of what they added was like Dragula. I like Dragula enough, but it didn't really feel like it fit there.
Right.
Except maybe Grind City, because it was a grindy town. But outside of Grind City, I didn't want it. Honestly, it's weird.
Rob Zombie in this game always felt a little like incongruous, like didn't exactly like fit.
Why does he end up in video games so much?
Because he just
Bling, bling, money, money.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
a
but why
lot
him?
of because his music is cheaper to license. It all comes down to the bottom line sometimes, and they have a popular artist that doesn't charge as much for their music in games as other artists do. They're gonna go with that person, I guess.
Well, I will say, as odd as it may sound, though it's still the same game, that there was that one song in the game called like Just Got Wicked or something. Never heard of it, didn't care about it, but for some reason, after failing at Grind City's second level over and over and over again, I came to like that song because it just kept playing.
I'll have to listen to
Earworm.
that later.
Yes, the earworm burrowed deep, but
That's disgusting.
oh, stop! This is a party atmosphere. It's supposed to be disgusting.
I couldn't
the
stand
deeper the better.
I couldn't stand that Dragula song in
Yeah.
Twisted Metal 4.
See, I'm a huge
the
Rob
Just-
Zombie, White Zombie fan, so I was
That's
always
cool.
up for that stuff.
Just that loop, that endless loop of that.
Burn through their britches.
Yeah.
That was how I always heard burn through the bridges.
Soundtrack to my teens. Todd, what about you? Any experience with Naganuma? You're kind of.
Sadly, I'm not going to be able to contribute much here.
That's fine, man. You're learning for the first time.
So a lot of these songs will probably be first time.
So it'd be great. Yeah, it'd be great to have your virgin experience.
That's your contribution.
Breaking your Naganuma cherry.
The music
that
also
that we chose at parties.
The music that we chose is like all over the place too.
Yeah.
Like all over his catalog of music. So I feel like we're gonna hear like almost his progression of like where he started and where he turned into.
I played Jet Set Radio one time. And that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have much experience with it either.
No! This needs to be remedied.
I mean, I know the soundtracks because I listen to the music, but the
I'm
game.
so used to hearing
I mean, I have it on Dreamcast, and I was just, I was never that big of a fan of the gameplay, like you said.
Yeah, it's very.
It was very tough to get around.
Yeah.
It was a while ago, like very early days of Pixel Tunes Radio. One of our guests brought on a track from the game Ollie King. Which was kind of like Top Skater, like an arcade skating game that never made it to any consoles.
Yeah.
And played a couple. He played one track from that album on the show, and then gave me the album because it was like almost impossible to find on the web. And I absolutely fell in love with it. It became one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. So we're definitely gonna share a track from that album on the show today, and so that's my major experience with Naganuma. I mean, I played Sega Rally a lot too, so I was exposed to some of his music without really even knowing it was him. And then the stuff from Sega Rally isn't almost recognizable from a lot of the other stuff that he's done over the years. So
I would say so because I've heard the Sega Rally OST, and I just learned today that he contributed to that. So there you go.
Yep.
It's been a little while, but do you remember who the guest was on that episode?
I think it was Scott.
Yeah, he's the one. The one time I played it, it was at his place.
That's funny.
Yep.
That's cool.
He was raving about it. He couldn't wait to show me. It was fun, but it wasn't memorable because I don't really remember it. So.
Yeah. No, he's a big Naganuma fan, so he kind of got me into it. So, Rob, why don't we get into the music? We'll share a little bit about what all this party atmosphere is about. What do you got first for us today?
So I wanted to go back to his start on the Dreamcast, and as this is a very, very strange title. It is called... I forget what it even means, but it's JRAPAT for the Dreamcast.
I think it's Japan Racing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Association or something. It's like horse racing.
It's horse racing essentially, but not like video horse racing. This is connected to the internet, and you can gamble online.
Okay.
And so it would connect to
Get you started early.
I don't know, like I guess to the track, and then you can place bets, or maybe you can like track races and stats there. And it had some music during loading screens and things like that. And all I can find is one song that he worked on this thing, because his name's attached to it, but the soundtrack is like almost lost forever. And someone saved it, and this is all I could find. It's called Ebb and Flow, and for the Sega Dreamcast, and it was in 2000.
All right, let's take a listen.
That was Ebb and Flow from JRAPAT for the Sega Dreamcast.
Drop Hat.
Drop Hat. Yeah, it's Drop Hat. From the Sega Dreamcast in the year 2000 by Hideki Naganuma. And I forgot that I started this off with like a super like sexy slow jam.
It's true. It's very sultry.
I liked it. That's I love that sound.
It was music you could legitimately gamble to. It was very
money spending music.
Yes. Just throw it around, flaunt it.
Gets you nice and relaxed. That just drop that money. Yeah.
So yeah, it makes me think that it's not so much a like a loading track. Maybe it is something that's playing during like you're reading statistics, or maybe you're
place your bets.
You're placing a bet. Yeah,
it feels like a menu screen. It kind of reminded me a lot of like the shop music from like the Wii.
Yes,
that kind of a loungy style.
Yeah. I don't know if we have any other information or like screen captures from this game, but it being a gambling game, I would imagine there's probably other visuals going on here that could, maybe go along with this tune.
The box art's like pretty psychedelic looking. Yeah. I wonder if the game itself like follows that aesthetic,
Yeah, I mean, it sounds more just like an application.
It sounds if you call it a game.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot going on there, but
you're
I love it.
Trying to bet on horses and like colors keep kaleidoscoping, and you're like, what am I doing? It just hypnotizes you into putting more money into it.
Right.
So I can't remember what his work on Sega Rally was again, but like this is for me like one of his earliest stuff, and it kind of gives you an idea of like where he's kind of moving into with mixing these like really rhythmic, like really rhythm focused music with a lot of like synthy stuff going in the background with the bass and with that with those cool little synth hits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got some Sega Rally stuff coming up in this show, but it's from Sega Rally 2006, so cool. It's not. But I do remember, at least, because I've owned Sega Rally on the Saturn since it was like brand new off the shelf. So the soundtrack for there is mostly either like straight up rock, right, or very, very like jazzy mellow stuff. So I'm sure the one he probably worked on the more jazzy mellow stuff because he doesn't really do much in the rock genre at all. So I would assume he'd probably do stick with something very smooth and mellow like this. Which is funny because like his later tracks get really off the wall, crazy.
really fun, really like real straight up party music.
Yeah.
It makes me really happy. It
sounds like he's a pretty versatile composer then.
Yes,
for sure.
Yes. So to that end, I'd like to read part of the interview, or at least a section of the interview that I thought was really important. The interview in 2002 with the site Rocket Baby, where they ask, "Do you have any advice for people who want to create music?" He says, "Please listen to a lot of music, be impressed by them, and absorb. Be able to compose many genres of music as routine work. But you must scrupulously create music to improve the game and to capture people's hearts by charming them with your music. Then I think that results in evaluation can come naturally. You must not create music that only interests you, but please keep in mind that many people will hear and enjoy your work." And that's just so cool. Like that gives you like a little window into someone who's focused on making himself, not just making himself happy with his own music. It's like he's saying this is music for a medium. Like don't ever lose sight that this music is here to enhance the gaming experience.
Not just be background.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that probably that kind of demeanor maybe comes from his position as a bartender, as a DJ. He's doing things for other people. He's trying to make the crowd happy.
Yes.
That's what DJs do. That's what bartenders
do.
So those positions probably fit his personality already. So it would just make sense that his music he'd want to make crowd-pleasing music.
Yeah, and to be successful, you must be able to compose many genres of music just as a routine. Like, you just have to be able to do it.
Yeah. And
that's to sell for yourself. And I think that's also, to expand your own horizons and to learn more, to grow as an artist.
Yeah.
It's for that to be in 2002, just 2 years after what we just heard, like, that's really, really mature. I think it's really cool.
I follow his Twitter account, and he's pretty active on Twitter, and he's pretty funny, and he knows English pretty well, so sometimes you get some broken statements from him, but...
Such as this.
He gets really...
I cleaned that up a little bit.
He gets really annoyed when people ask him, like, what his influences are and what genre he composes in, because he refuses to, like... name his music, like put a genre to his music. He always calls it, like we said at the beginning, the Naganuma sound. Like that's what he feels he composes. He doesn't want to be pigeonholed. He doesn't want to make music that other people have made. He wants to express himself through his music. So
I can dig that too.
Yeah, so much. So he's like Prince.
And so every time somebody will be like, "So what genre would you say you compose in?" He'll tweet back and he'll just link to an interview where he like goes over in at length about how he doesn't care what other genres are doing. He doesn't care what other artists are doing. He's pulling influences from so many different places that he can't, put himself in any particular instance. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So with that said, let's move on to a track that I've picked from, which pretty much perfectly sums up a lot of this genre bending that he's doing. This one is from the game Ollie King, which we were just talking about, and this is called Brother Goes Away, and this was only released in the arcade in 2004, so it's a little bit more in the future from what we've been talking about on J
Very cool.
So let's take a listen.
Oh, you're my brother.
All right, we are back. That was Brother Goes Away from the game Ollie King, an arcade game, came out in 2004, composed by our feature of the day, Hideki Naganuma. So I said genre bending, and a lot of you guys agreed with me while we were listening to this.
There's a lot going on there. Yeah, that beat was super UK garage, like two-step style, so like definitely of that era.
Yeah.
Like right around when drum and bass was getting really big in the UK, like they were kind of mixing those styles with house music.
Yeah.
And getting that kind of stuff.
And mixed with a lot of funk and soul.
Oh, yeah.
What'd you think, Todd?
I really like it. I was just saying while we were listening to it that I'm surprised I didn't have any familiarity really with this artist. Probably because a lot of the games that this music comes from are games that I generally wouldn't be playing.
Yeah.
But I keep trying. I see what you're talking about when you say that he sort of is his own genre, because I keep thinking I hear a genre in there and then going, no, but it doesn't really sound like
right.
that.
It's always like skirting the edges of
that,
everything.
Yeah.
But it's
almost
not
like it's
really
purposeful.
Right. So, really good.
Yeah, thanks. I made it myself. I don't know why I said that.
Well, thanks for playing the track.
I guess.
That was fun. It's like, is it like it's going to happen with a lot of the picks for us, we're all going to be bouncing through the whole
for
listening
sure.
through these tunes.
Hope there's more tracks that play that have that awesome sound like, oh my bravo, wow.
Maybe some. I don't know. We've got. So the thing about this game is it's the spiritual sequel to Top Skater, which is like a skateboard game that was in the arcades. You'd actually stand on a skateboard, hold onto a couple of rails, and then your character would be going down hills and over jumps and stuff. And
Sega
you
was
gotta.
all about that stuff.
It's really
they
unique.
had like
and cool.
Alpine Racer. They did right where you
Yep.
could stand on it and do something, and then this was like very similar, except it was mainly skateboard.
Right, and I've never actually played this game before, which stinks because it looks really cool. This ran on the, it's called the Chihiro board, which is basically an OG Xbox with extra RAM in it, shoved into an arcade machine.
Yeah.
So it hasn't really been emulated to be able to play on a PC, and this game itself wasn't really widely proliferated in arcades as much as Top Skater was. So I've been on the lookout for one of these arcade machines forever, because I at least want to play it once, because I know the soundtrack like by heart now. So I always want to groove to the tunes while I'm actually playing a game. But hopefully I'll find it eventually, and we can
That'd be really fun.
rock out to it.
California, if anything, at this point.
Probably, yeah, or Japan.
Yeah, that's true.
It's gonna be at the con tomorrow.
I would hope.
Now you guys are just being real.
Yeah,
hopeful.
mostly there's a free play arcade at Retro World Expo, but it's mostly just the stand-up cabinets and stuff. I haven't really seen any, because they're not paying the people to bring the arcade machines there. They get free admission if they donate one of their arcades for the day. So it's like they're not going to spend all the money to put it in a truck. And
Some good stuff last year though. I'm playing a lot of that Star Wars, the original Star Wars. game.
Some
It was
really
all
classic
vector
stuff.
graphics.
Final Fight, Street Fighter, there's a bunch of cool stuff there.
good stuff.
So let's move on to our next track.
Yeah.
Rob, what you got up for us?
Well, I wanted to pick something from some stuff that really means a lot to me, and that would be rhythm games. So in 2012, some of his music got licensed by Konami for their Beatmani series of games. So that was all their rhythm games. So this is a track called Love Can Save You. And it's really strange. I feel like after a certain year, like all of his songs became all caps. Like all of his song titles were just in all caps.
It's true.
So this is I think it was originally on Beatmania 2DX 20, and then it was also in Jubeat Saucer, Jubeat Plus, and Dance Evolution, which is like Dance Central, but in the arcade.
This song gets around.
Yeah, Konami will have like one song that's popular, and it'll eventually get around to all of their games.
Gotcha.
So yeah,
But with different gameplay for each of the...
Exactly,
Okay.
right. So it might be like end up being like a boss song in DDR, but it could be like maybe a core song in Beatmania. So yeah, this is pretty cool. So this is Love Can Save You by Hideki Naganuma. That was Love Can Save You.
Can it really?
It will. If not today.
I'll believe it when I see it.
If not today.
With the right amount of money,
then maybe tonight.
It really, really can.
But that was composed by Hideki Naganuma, and it was released on a series of Konami Bemani games, Beatmania 2DX20, and Ju-Beat, and Dance Evolution. And I will not be surprised if we eventually will see it on the newest version of DDR, as that game has really taken off.
No, honestly, the whole time
again.
I was playing, I was seriously like trying to picture myself playing it in UB, and I was like, this could actually be legitimately awesome in that game.
During the last track that you played from Ollie King, like I'm imagining like the rhythms there's so much going on, and every part of that rhythm is really, really clear.
Yeah.
And I'm imagining like steps to it, and I'm imagining like keys to it. I'm like, this is perfect for rhythm games. And so then, of course, he's talked about in his interview like how the music must complement the game style. So he goes and writes this whole pop song with all these like really heavy synths and all of these like arpeggiations moving around in the background. Like, of course, it's going to be for a music game.
Yeah.
And it works as a pop song on its own too. So it's super good.
I don't mean this in a bad way, so don't take it in a bad. This reminds me of the music that like YouTube offers you for free for like music overs in your videos, like the royalty free stuff. But that's good because those are really slick, highly produced pieces of music, and I feel like that's what this is. And it's music that works with anything. Mm-hmm. You know, you could put a skydiving, or you could put like, you know, your kid learning to ride a bike, and it will intensify. Or guile. But it will intensify the mood of whatever it is that you're showing along with it. So I could picture this being really good for dance and rhythm games because it's going to really pump you up and get that adrenaline flowing.
Maybe that was the note he received, was to do something like super polished and kind of modern.
Right.
Yeah.
Make me feel like I just got a shot of adrenaline in my chest.
Love can boo you.
So yeah, we're getting like a little bit of everything from this artist.
Absolutely. What was your impression, Todd? I know this music isn't exactly your cup of tea.
It's not. That was definitely a high intensity song.
Yeah.
Very.
Did you get a workout?
Just about.
Just listening to it.
An ear workout.
Yeah. You know? The kind of music you can make a rush attempt to get to the grocery store on time with, right? Gotta get there before they close, get you some ice cream, gotta put that track on.
Gotta work with us here.
Get the pedal to the metal.
But yes,
when that hurricane's coming, you gotta get the milk, the eggs, and the bread.
That's right. You don't have much time. You gotta get home. Get in that cellar.
Fast driving music.
Love can save you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that.
Any impressions, Cam?
It was, like you guys have described, very slick, polished. Not really my thing, but I can certainly appreciate the skill that goes into, especially in the midst of all these different tracks. Somebody who can make something like that, and then turn around and make something like, especially like that first track, or that second track, or
they're very different.
Or any of the tracks we're going to play.
Yeah, it's
He's a
definitely solid.
Man of many sounds, many voices.
Right. And you know, like, there are DJs out there that make just this particular kind of music.
Yes.
And it's like, you wonder how much talent they actually have because it all sounds the same. But when you get this kind of music, plus you get music from all different genres, it's like, you know that here's a man that understands more about music than just heavy synths and a 4/4 beat, you know?
Yeah. But I mean, like, even with artists, and partly in the defense of a lot of these like dance artists, like they're using a certain name, you know, for this style of music, and for like they might use other names for doing other stuff.
But they're following conventions.
They are definitely,
exactly.
It's going to pay them bills, son. All right.
And you got to be talented because you got to make that music that follows those tight conventions stand out. So the successful ones are really good at what they do.
Yes, really important to note.
So with that, let's move on. We're going to travel back in time a little bit, back to the year 2000.
Yeah.
From Jet Grind Radio, which we were just talking about, here's one of Naganuma's tracks from that game. This is called Grace and Glory.
flips a track, flip the raps, flips a track, flip the raps, flips a track. Flip the raps, flips a track, flip the raps, flips a track, flip the raps, flips a track. Flip the raps, flips a track, flip the raps, flips a track, flip the raps, flips a track.
All right, that was Grace and Glory from Jet Grind Radio, or Jet Set Radio if you're nasty. Came out on the Dreamcast and the Xbox in 2000.
Yeah.
Composed by our man, Hideki Naganuma. And again, we wanted to show off something that was extremely different.
That was different.
Yeah, very different. This is the last boss theme, which is why it sounds kind of epic and very kind of creepy, but also funky. There's like screams used as like percussive hits in there, and really cool stuff in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think.
I liked how it was its own thing with those vocal samples, almost like kind of like harmonically placed at the beginning, as almost like like he was harmonizing with himself, but in a creepy way. But then it still stayed with like the theme of the rest of the soundtrack with that kind of funky beat, but it was like a sinister funky beat. Like it was a dark funk.
And it actually came through well in the game itself, because most of the game, the tracks were very bouncy and energetic. But then you get to this final scenario where you hear this track, the only place in the game where it plays, and it stands out from everything else.
Yeah.
And really puts you in a situation of this dark, sinister environment where a rhino is breathing fire on a roller skating kid. It's a very interesting concept, but I love it. I've always loved this track.
What's weird about that?
Well, I don't know. I guess it is true. I mean, I figured, I don't know. Maybe it is pretty normal. Maybe it's I with the problem.
It's normal for Sega.
That is true.
This is a very Sega.
Sega has semen, so I think that pretty much puts them in a realm of their own. Yeah. They just get whatever they want at this point.
Again, the age of the Dreamcast, like this music for me is Sega. Like,
yeah.
It just reminds me of that time for Sega so much.
A lot of experimentation.
Yeah.
But experimentation with a very pop flair at the same time.
Like it was very directed. Like there must have been like one or two like really strong creative like people with a strong direction.
Yeah.
And it was focused into one game.
Yeah.
Like Jet Set Radio was like, we want to make something that's all about skating and graffiti and with really funky music, and it came together into something that is exactly that.
Yeah, and from what I remember, I think Naganuma was the sound director on this game, so he provided some music, but also found music from other artists to contribute to this game, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, there was a number of different artists that had like a cameo spot on the OST.
Yeah, and then the sequel too, like the soundtrack grew by 10 times.
Fun fact, the sequel is why I got into Euro music as I did, because one of the tracks on that OST was from the band Biss, who originated from England.
Okay.
And of course, then that sent me over there to grab that. So the fact that he got all these different musicians and artists, like a very eclectic mix of artists at that, like what Cibo Motto is on it.
Yeah.
And that's where I first heard them for the first time too. Just, if he was the sound director and he was the real one responsible for selecting these bands and these tracks to get in the game, that is exquisite.
Yeah,
There was punk, hip hop, rap, R&B. There was some like ska. Wasn't there ska or something on there? There was just a lot of different sounds on it.
That's the DJ in him, I think. Just all these different influences, all these different things that he just enjoyed.
But all with that same energy.
Like he was DJing for a game.
Yeah, basically.
I like that.
Todd, what'd you think about this one?
I know it's the focus of what everybody seems to be saying about this track, but I really loved the vocalizations in it and how it seemed to be part of the melody a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like the vocalizations were being bent along with the music. I mean, there's also singing, but part of the music was also vocalizations being used.
I think that's the industrial music fan in you speaking.
That is probably the industrial.
Kind of where I'm coming from too.
That part I really enjoyed about this. It's really good.
A lot of industrial artists will do that. Will use vocal samples like this as instruments. Manipulate them in ways where it sounds like a voice, but is really kind of like bent in that it sounds kind of like an instrument at the same time, and you're kind of wondering if it's really a voice or if it's really an instrument. It's really interesting like that.
Well, at a time when this came out, which was the year 2000, like sampling technology in the 2099 was not what it is today, where you can just turn on the computer and do so much. So much of this was hardware outside of the computer,
like
just
keyboards.
Keys. Yep. And the sample time wasn't so long. So to be so successful and creative with these sounds speaks to him technically as well.
Sure, and I do think that Sega probably had state-of-the-art hardware as well. Being in Japan, being, rich, Sega was doing very, very well at that point.
So he had access to all of these.
Yeah, probably had access to cutting-edge technology, which probably helped him, enact his vision of having music that was a cutting edge above what everybody else was doing.
Good point.
Your thoughts, Cam, before we move on?
It has this sort of off-putting quality, which I think is intentional. It's off-putting while being very rhythmic at the same time. And there's something about that. I'm not sure this is what it is, but to me it sounds like an operatic female vocal.
I'd say so.
And there's something very creepy about that. Mm-hmm. It's used a lot in some of the more modern Castlevania games, and it really adds like a depth to the darkness of it. I haven't seen this, but based on what you guys are describing, it sounds like it fits perfectly.
Well, especially compared to the rest of the soundtrack, because the rest of the soundtrack is all very upbeat, bubbly, and then you get to this song and you're like, something's
a little
wrong.
Jarring. Yeah, it can be a little jarring, but I think it's also intentional.
Yeah.
But for like a last boss in this game where you got to play over and over and over again, I think I would rather hear something else, honestly.
Something else like maybe your next track?
Maybe. All right, so this one is, again, Hideki Naganuma. Originally composed for Super Monkey Ball 3D, which I think was the Nintendo 3DS or the GameCube or something?
3DS, yeah.
3DS. I don't know why I can never remember the Nintendo systems.
I don't know. I wrote it down right on the document.
There it is. Check that out. But it was not used in Super Monkey Ball 3D. It was put into Yakuza 5, which was for what?
Sure, that's the logical choice.
Slightly different game.
Yeah. So, and this is called Vendor Pop. And I think it's used during a mini game, or I don't know.
Probably during the arcade.
I don't know what you do in Yakuza games.
Go to arcades.
You beat up people
and
in
play
arcades.
classic Sega games.
Fleece them for money.
No, you go to the arcade and play video games. Literally.
This probably plays in that. This is very different. So this is Vendor Pop, all caps
for
Yakuza 5 and Super Monkey Ball.
All right, let's hit it.
that was Vendor Pop from Super Monkey Ball 3D, and then used for Yakuza 5. So yeah, again, just showing a range and I think playfulness.
I heard that drummer getting wicked.
Yeah, so like, I mean, who thought that you'd have like this New Orleans like brass band mixed with Public Enemy, mixed with a lot going on.
You know, at this point, I would have thought that. I would have thought all those things.
He's just like, I've got these samples, let's have some fun. So yeah, this was 2011, but it reminds me of music from a DJ called Cold Cut from like back in like 98, 99, where he would take samples from things like Peter and the Wolf and all this other stuff and make these massive like hip hop like epics, but with just so many samples you wouldn't know where he was going.
Cool. So would you say we're rather meaty compositions?
They are. His partner was named DJ Food.
DJ Food.
I guess
DJ
they ran out of ideas on
They
that.
were full of baloney. But I do get, and not as far as genre goes, but I am reminded a lot of artists like Chemical Brothers and Fatboy Slim.
Same era.
Also genre benders that also took samples from so many different sources and blended them together so very well. So I was always kind of reminded of those guys, and I'm a huge fan of both of those artists. So Naganuma's stuff fits right in with that.
And it's funny because it doesn't have that as clean of a rhythm section as the other songs that we had. There's a lot of like rides and cymbals, and like that crowd sound goes through the whole thing.
Yeah, it's very dirty.
So it's kind of like washed over. So it sounds like there's a party going on outside,
like a pep rally or something.
Yeah.
It's a vendor that's got a lot of business.
A lot of business. So. Yeah, from all my picks today, I wanted to pick something that was all very, very different from each other, just to show this progression of what
you succeeded.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard.
These are all this way.
It's honestly hard to pick stuff that's not. If you're picking from different games, it's hard to find stuff that is the same, because every single one of his soundtracks, as you've seen by now, is all very very
so
different.
the next track's gonna be like country with a little bit of banjo or something, or
maybe not.
Maybe not.
Well, I
bet he would be really good at it though.
Yeah,
Gregorian
banjo and
chanting.
Dressed up like the old guy from the Phalanx cover.
Yes!
That's him with a mask.
Well, I can definitely say that they made the right call not putting this track in Super Monkey Ball, because while I will say that the track did grow on me, because it didn't click at first, but as it really started to pick up, I was like, oh, I can work with this. But I couldn't picture myself playing Super Monkey Ball with this playing in the background. It just wouldn't fit.
Yeah, maybe that's why it's unused.
Yeah, this might have been for originally for one of the mini games or something, because the soundtrack to I listened to the soundtrack to Monkey Ball 3D just to kind of compare it to this song, considering that I knew it was originally intended for that soundtrack, and that soundtrack's very arcade, Sega arcade sounding, lots of heavy bright synths, very techno.
So awesome.
It didn't really sound anything like this.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure where they would have put it in, and I'm kind of glad that they saved it for Yakuza, because it probably fits a little bit better with that.
That's not thinking about it. Maybe they even played in one of the nightclub sections.
Maybe.
Yeah,
that would fit.
I didn't really bother to look up where it was at.
Yeah.
These games are massive.
I don't know, because
Yeah, pretty big.
this feels like I was saying while we were listening to it, a lot like the God Hand or No More Heroes soundtrack, like Jun Fakuna, Masafumi Takada, I think his name is. I was drawing a blank right now. But anyways, those guys that used to work for Grasshopper Manufacturer that created like songs like this, and there's a track that's very similar to this in God Hand that plays like during the bonus rounds, where you're just like, you've got things coming at you and you gotta punch it as hard as you can. And I feel like maybe that's like kind of a mini game kind of a deal for Yakuza for this track. I don't know. I felt it would fit, but
yeah, I think like some like ultra violent scene would work really well with something sounding like this, because it would just be so
hyperkinetic and very violent.
Yeah.
An excellent juxtaposition of things like, whoa, wait a minute, I'm here, but this is actually going on here. Party pop.
Any further thoughts from anyone before we move on to our next track? Alrighty. So, I don't know. This one's going to sound very different again.
Yeah, these are all crazy.
This is from a game called Dead Heat Riders, which came out in the arcade last year, 2017. This one is called Black Hot Vodka.
Is this a racing game?
It's a motorcycle racing game
awesome.
for the arcade.
Yeah.
Best song title ever.
Yes. From what I understand, this soundtrack has not been released yet and might never be released, but I was able to grab this song on the web, on the deep corner of the web somewhere. So enjoy.
Your corner.
Black Hot Vodka.
Black hot vodka in a black hot vodka in a vodka in a vodka me a swanee. Black hot vodka in a black hot vodka in a vodka hot black me a swanee.
All right, I'm in the mood for some Black Hot Vodka. That was from Dead Heat Riders, released in the arcade in 2017, composed by Hideki Naganuma. So it started off, everybody was like, what the hell is this crap?
Yeah. And
then it rolls into this amazing groove.
That was so good. So good.
Brass hits and like saxophones and just amazingness. This song took me by surprise too, because there's a lot of tracks on this soundtrack that are a little bit more hard rock, like metal. Not so much metal, but like dance hard rock.
Okay.
Which kind of fits the motorcycle racing theme. But it's a genre that, Naganuma doesn't really work in that much. But this one just really stood out for me. I don't know, anything that with lots of vocal samples immediately stands out for me just because it's something that you don't hear that often and is really kind of trademark for his style.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, it's got this red hot vodka repeating thing, and it's cool, but it's not something I'd like really want to play on the show. But then that second half comes in, and I'm like, man, this is a jam.
Absolutely.
So had to throw it in. Thoughts from you guys? Party people in the house tonight, raising the roof.
There's no roof being raised.
Well, I mean, we're
Where's the basement first?
No, you just got to stand up and you can raise the roof.
That is true. Actually, there's a divot right over there where I raised the roof just earlier this evening. But honestly, I was pretty pleased with this track. Though at this moment, I feel as though there's probably not going to be a track of this man's caliber that I'm going to dislike.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, you'd be surprised if you weren't surprised.
Exactly. Like it's a legit gem that came out of it. Like I wouldn't say this was the best track of the night, but this is definitely yet another shining example of positivity.
Which track so far has like really
honestly
found its way into your heart?
Through your navel.
Through the nose and the heart.
Well, that just sounds gross.
Anyway.
Well, I'm still singing "Brother Goes Away" in my head.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. He's got a thing about like taking these rap lyrics and like repeating them and cutting them and repeating them and cutting them.
And Brothers Going Away.
Yeah.
And Love Saving You.
Yes, like I said, if I come across a U-Beat machine anytime soon, hopefully I remember that track. So I'm going to look it up and try to play it on there.
The lyrics of this one was killing me. I know I've heard it before, and of course it was from Street Fighter 3 Third Strike.
Of course.
Bonus game 2. So
There you go.
I'm gonna stick with it. Hideki Okugawa.
Right. Yeah, he did the soundtrack for that. So just goes to show you that, Naganuma is also looking out for other video game composers to kind of grab stuff from. Influence, grabbing, whatever have you. But, he made it his own for sure.
Absolutely. He's not just playing other people's music. He's playing with the music.
Exactly.
With the amount of stuff he samples, you're bound to recognize something.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Actually, I'm really curious to try to look up the lyrics from Brother Goes Away to see, where those came from.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I was always under the impression that it was probably just original lyrics that were written for the song, but now I'm not thinking so much.
Well, clearly he's using a lot of his own vocal samples. I think that kind of like creepy chorus he did for Jet Set Radio is probably him.
Yeah,
I think.
Just pitched up and down.
Yeah, and then music he did for the Beatmania game, I think like he put his own vocals into it too.
No, I'm having a hard time picturing him just sitting in a chair going, wee!
You know what? You just gotta let go, man.
Like, Hideki, that's me!
He's making sure no one's in the office that day. No one's like looking at him. What's he doing over
He was doing stunts on Ollie King, and he fell, and the railing hit him right between the legs, and he's like, I gotta sample this!
I gotta do it.
Who would you pay to do that? I'll never tell.
Wouldn't it surprise me if he's also like a skater or like is really into some kind of like if he's like a rollerblader,
like into that culture.
Maybe he's a member of the revolution and he's out there, fulfilling acts of rebellion at this very moment.
Is he Banksy? He's Banksy.
Mystery solved.
Banksy Naganuma. Yeah. He's tagging public libraries and police stations.
Naganuma.
That would work. I mean, his art style does go with the music style, so
yeah,
I could definitely see it.
Into it.
All right, sir, we are up for your last track of the day. What do you got for us?
Okay, so this is a soundtrack for the game Hover, Hover, all caps, and the song is called Never Forever, all caps, number 4. This is the coolest song ever, clearly. But this is a game that's coming out later this year, and it is. Really looks like the spiritual successor to Jet Set Radio. I think some of the same developers are working on it. They wanted to bring him back to bring kind of the spirit of that music back into the game, but it's much more of a futuristic style where instead of like rollerblades. It's like hover rollerblades.
Cool.
So it looks like a lot of fun. It looks really cool, and the soundtrack is pretty neat. So.
And the song title follows the Prince method of name calling.
Yes.
Numbers for letters and not letters for numbers.
He's elite.
Yes,
what he is.
exactly.
Yeah.
Hacker Supreme. All right, let's take a listen to Never Forever from Hover.
Do it. Never Forever from the game Hover, coming out this year, composed by Hideki Naganuma.
Brand new stuff. Hot off the press.
Brand new stuff. So yeah, it definitely has a mixture of what was going on with that Beatmania track with that kind of more polished sound.
Yeah.
But again, just flipping styles like every few bars. It's just craziness.
A little more dynamic, a little more staccato. The synths were a little punchier in this one. I feel like it was a much more of a wall of sound in that Beat Mania track.
Honestly, I would rather play a rhythm game to that kind of song because there's more interest that you would be playing with, rather than the other one, which is more like a wall of sound.
Yeah, exactly. I used to love, like when I was playing Guitar Hero, I used to love stuff like that. Like punk or ska songs where there's like a lot of, every instrument plays on the downbeat. It really feels like you're really strumming along really hard.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I definitely feel that. And we watched a little gameplay while we were, because none of us really knew what this game was all about. So, but it does really kind of have that Jet Set Radio feel.
Yeah.
But kind of updated for the modern era. I think it's still in early access, so graphics looked a little bit rough, but they look like, I don't know, Dreamcast or PlayStation 2 era graphics. But pretty smooth gameplay, and the music seemed to fit right along with the game.
Listening to this song while the gameplay was going on was really cool.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. I like this kind of stuff. This is a style that I would be really, really into. Again, playing probably a step file or something on DDR or ITG, and just getting really into it.
Kind of those like half-rapped, like female vocals, like like Kesha kind of style stuff.
Like it's just fun, and I like that. It's just positive.
Music just made for fun, exactly, and that's a lot of what Naganuma is all about.
Yeah, he's like, oh, it's music for a game. It's meant to be fun. Let's do it, and he just has a blast.
I'm not here to make you think about.
Yeah, it sounds like he's having fun doing it. I love that.
It's not like shoegaze.
Hey!
I didn't say it was a bad thing.
Oh, just making sure. Shoegaze can be very fun.
Yeah. On the way up here, we were talking about like listening to like sad and depressing music and how it's like really helpful. Like it feels.
It can be cathartic.
Right.
But
not for a game like Jet Set Radio.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know. There could be a session where like the main character's kid sister just passed away due to some like skater virus, and he's like riding through the city to this
rollerblade
really
accident.
sad track.
Can't stop grinding.
I can't stop grinding. All the pursuit of absolving himself of these horrible feelings before he ultimately goes toward, taking down the evil corporation who turned off all the neon lights and sent his sister to a grindy grave. It was just, it's just, I don't know. Shoegaze there's definitely room for quality smiles from Shoegaze too. It's not always, meh and sorrow.
That could be a lot of major chords all washed out in reverb and delay.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I've had days where I'm like, I've got a little dance on to some shoe.
Feels pretty good, right?
It'd be shocking. No Joy has a lot of pets. It has some surprisingly peppy shoegaze.
Wait, they call them No Joy?
They're called No Joy, but they can bring joy. I know it doesn't sound right, but bear with me on this. It works. It works well. Also, I can't help but keep reading that track and going, never forever I'll hover with you. That's all I see. That's all I see whenever I read that. It's driving me crazy.
We just got Rickrolled.
That's true.
Yeah, exactly.
Cam, you were into this one, were you?
Yeah, I really like the that 3-chord synth chord kind of the repetition. That dun, 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 dun. I like the sound of it, and it. Like
Very hooky.
At first I got a really like 90s dance vibe to it. Something that would be on the grind. Remember that MTV show?
Oh my god.
It was just people dancing.
I used to love that.
Don't ask questions, just let them move.
Yeah, MTV The Grind.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
it was like a dance show, yeah.
That's all it was. It was just people, but it sounded to me like that sort of thing, and then it just, it would just catch me off guard every time he'd add something new in there like that vocals. To me, sort of has like a Gwen Stefani sort of. I don't really know.
Kind of like a snarky female rap kind of idea.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Very cool.
Todd, any comments?
First of all, I gotta say I never thought that Rick Astley would be brought up on a podcast. So that was an experience.
Well,
right
you should
there.
listen to the Astley cast.
Asscast?
On a video game podcast, I guess I should say.
That's just a
Never
podcast
gonna
about
podcast.
ashtrays. That's not a great time.
What's amazing me about all these tracks is getting into this episode. You were all talking about Ed and Rob in particular were talking about the Naganuma sound, and I'm like, okay, he has like a specific type of music. But obviously not being familiar with it, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. They're all so vastly different, but you can tell very easily that they all came from the same brain.
It's actually it's just cool, like a perspective like completely outside of all of hearing all of these originally, or maybe where they're from. Can you think of anything that ties them together? Any kind of thread?
I can't put my finger on anything, but I can hear it in there.
Like a soul is in there.
It's the attitude, I think, is what really kind of... There's like a swagger to it that's kind of unique among all of his tracks, that you can't really like just say, oh yeah, that bass line and then that chord change, and then because it doesn't, there's nothing gels in that term. But it's like the mindset of the composer, I guess, is what you can really kind of point to when you're talking about similarities.
I feel like when you're blending so many different genres and so many different tracks, because you have so much material and so much happening, there's going to be some overlap in there that's more in the background. It's not that obvious, but there are common threads in there that give it an overall sort of recognizability, sort of, maybe.
Yeah.
Not that the tracks sound similar, but I'm sort of describing what you're describing just very differently, maybe a little less coherently than you're describing it, but.
No, I kind of feel with where you're going there, and I'm curious, just people listening to this show, if they can maybe vocalize it better than we can. I'd like to hear a discussion or see a discussion of this online, like what makes the Naganuma sound the Naganuma sound.
It's interesting.
It's kind of nebulous.
I think there's that part where he puts some music into the track,
and
then he lets it run.
That's what it is. It's the music. There's music in all of these tracks,
right?
It's crazy. You've got to listen to the silence between the notes.
That's where the Naganuma sound is.
It's the rap vocals he's not playing.
It's the samples he hasn't sampled yet.
Yeah.
All right, so let's listen to one last track from Naganuma-san and see if it gives us any more insight as to what we're trying to and failing to come up with here. This one is Boosted from Sega Rally 2006. This one is not all in caps for a change. And this was an arcade game, obviously came out in 2006. Let's take a listen. All right, we're back. That was Boosted from Sega Rally 2006. This is more of that rock sound that I was talking about for that, Dead Heat Riders, the rest of that soundtrack. This kind of exemplifies his work more along rock than dance, even though it's still a dance song. You know, it still has those kind of like brass hits here and there. Lots of different drum sounds and drum kits. He loves mixing and matching his percussion sounds.
Yeah.
And again, not something that you could like say, oh, that's rock. No, but it's got a little bit of dance in it. Oh, but it's like blues, but it's got some rock and some like house there. And it's like it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah, so changing the percussion a lot. I mean, that's something he's been doing through all of these tracks.
Yeah.
But I do like that really distorted bass. It's very like hard rocky kind of sound.
Absolutely.
Definitely hints of rock and or roll there.
Yeah, a little bit of that. One or the other.
Maybe both.
And/or.
And/or. The moons of and/or. Thoughts, Todd? None at all.
Not at all.
So would you say? Oh, here's a question. I got one for you. Here you go.
Questions. Now time for questions for
I
Todd.
have a feeling that I know where this is going.
You know where this is going. So, first question is a two-parter.
Two-part question.
What would you say was your favorite track from this episode? If you had to just kind of throw a coin in the air and grab it one. Might have to scroll up.
Can you give me the names again?
Like, can we go back and listen to the episode?
Probably Brother Goes Away.
Brother Goes Away. Follow-up question. Can you think of a book?
No.
Trying to get the page turners out.
It's gonna start one of these days. One of these days.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on Brother Goes Away. That was a really standout.
Yeah, I'll play you guys some more of the music from that soundtrack. I mean, it was really hard to pick just one song from Ollie King because so much of it was so good. But yeah, that's one of my favorite tracks. Obviously, I picked it, so one of my favorite tracks off that soundtrack too. What about you, Cam? What were you grooving on tonight?
Well, when that last one started, I immediately kind of thought, oh, this has more of a sound that sort of fits my tastes, and I really like how the groove just went right for it right away. But I would say that was probably the least melodic. There was less of a melody in that track, and I really love melody, so that one turned out to not be maybe my favorite. But I think my favorite is probably the one from Hover, actually. I really like that one a lot.
Cool. I like that. I like Black Hot Vodka. You know, the dancey picks that Rob played were probably my least favorite. Not to say I didn't like them, but they're the least in the genre that I like to listen to.
Yeah. It's not something that. It's not something for you.
I wouldn't throw it on like my stereo in the car and drive around to it. I'd much rather do something from like, Ollie King or Dead Heat Riders or something like that. But I like them all. I mean, I think this was a fantastic episode. There's so much good music, and there's so much good music left of him to play. Like we could almost do a volume 2 on Rhythm and Pixels or something.
Naganuma Nights.
There's games we haven't touched. There's games we haven't touched. There's games where he only did like 1 or 2 tracks for.
Yeah. Sonic Rush, I think, or Sonic Advance. He did.
Yeah, he did Sonic Rush.
Sonic Rush. Yeah.
He had some great tracks in Sonic Rush.
And that was a sequenced Game Boy Advance soundtrack that sounded a lot like the Ollie King stuff. So it's like. He doesn't just work in like Redbook audio or streaming audio. He can do sequencing. He's got a lot of talents as a video game music composer.
I'd like to hear what he can do with a retro chip of some kind.
That would be cool to hear, yeah.
I'd love to hear what he can do with like a harmonica and a theremin.
Yeah, really.
I like to hear with an automaton. That's the weird kit and caboodle right there.
Automaton?
Yes.
Oh yeah, the automaton. It looks like it's a little face, a little round Pac-Man face with a stem coming from it. So it looks like a musical note, and you hold it and you press. I can't believe I'm describing this on a podcast. You press a button on the stem of the instrument to play the tones.
Squeeze the mouth.
And to slide, so there's not like keys to play the tone, and then you squeeze the mouth open, so it opens like a little plastic coin purse, and that mutes and closes the sound. So it sounds like a wah-wah square wave machine. But they draw little googly eyes on the thing, so it looks like a person.
Right.
So like it goes wah, wah, wah.
I think Naganuma would rock the hell out of that thing.
But like the theremin, there's no and like a trombone, there's no like set keys. So if you're really good at it, you have to like your fingers have to know where to go.
Okay, very cool. Very cool.
So yeah, and that is Ottoman Cast.
Automaton Cast.
Yeah, thank you.
That's pretty cool.
It's a neat instrument.
Yeah, so there are a ton of other Hideki Naganuma soundtracks out there. I'll put a link to his SoundCloud in the show notes because there are a ton of music.
Yeah, and you can tell he's really proud of his work.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of remastered, like a lot of the stuff that we've played I've taken from his SoundCloud, they are remastered or cleaned up versions of the music that he's put And, you know, because like the Dreamcast and stuff, they would be downsampled and or mono or, you know, like compressed to fit on the disc itself.
Right.
And this is all like the high quality, the way it should be heard.
Yeah, and it's nice to go out there to look for music from a game and not have to get stuck with something that was like maybe recorded from the game system or ripped off of something else, but like the artist actually went out and said, hey, this is what I've done.
Yeah.
Even if it's to have to go out and purchase the soundtrack or something, but it's still available on its own at a higher quality.
Exactly, and he's not just showing off like 30 seconds of it.
Exactly,
to tease
just
you
to
go buy
enjoy
something.
on its own. It's really neat.
Exactly.
It's, if I may, it's interesting it's refreshing, honestly, to hear a composer that's, like you said, is like proud of what they're doing. Not that others aren't, but you hear a lot of composers, especially from, you know, way back, who are just like, yeah, it was fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
They don't
It was
really
what I did at the time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's nice to hear like somebody, and he doesn't come off as like, you know, arrogant about it. He just seems genuinely excited about it.
Interested in what he's doing.
And there's that crowd pleaser element. Like, people have asked him about the Dead Heat Riders soundtrack. Like, is it ever going to come out on an OST? Like, where can I get the music? The only selections from that game you can find are on either YouTube or SoundCloud. There's only a couple selections, and people have really wanted that whole soundtrack. And so they've tweeted at Naganuma, and he's replied. He's like, I would love for it to come out too, but it's the company that made the game. It's like, it's up to them. So he's on the side of the listeners. You know, he wants to be able to share his music. He wants his music to be out there. You know,
frustrating.
Right. Probably whether or not he even makes money off it or not. But you know, he's kind of at the beck and call of whoever made those games. Yeah. So he can share what he can share on his website, and you know, thankfully he can share at least some of it and not none of it. So. Or I'll just find the arcade ROM somehow when it gets dumped and rip the music out.
Find
the
sound tester.
Yeah, exactly. And do a hardware recording. So it'll happen eventually. Usually that's the way it is. I mean, if the soundtrack's not available on CD, people will find a way to get the music one way or the other.
And we'll find a way to get to do it. Yes.
Nature finds a way.
It'll find its way into the embassy.
Exactly. So that about wraps up the show. Thank you guys so much for coming out to the embassy, chilling out with us.
Thanks for having us here.
You guys have had a rough day driving all day to get here. And
it's terrible driving with
But it
this
was a
guy.
fantastic party to get here for. I mean, like, in the thing, the cops have yet to show up.
It's got to be any minute now.
I know. And now my house is covered in graffiti, and people are grinding on my roof.
Blade marks all over the
It's
furniture.
terrible.
Todd's toilet papered like the entire house. He's working on the house next door.
Logan is motorcycle racing up and down the street. It's horrible. Oh, man. All right. So, I want to thank you guys. I want to thank Indira for doing the art for the show, and I want to thank Trevin for doing the music for the show. And, you know, like I said, that idea for Naganuma Volume 2 might be a cool thing we can revisit at some point. Not right away, but, you know.
At some point.
Do a Rhythm and Pitches
Naganuma
episode
2,
or another VG Embassy. And
Yeah, we can do something else. Do something
Naganuma 2, the Electric Boogaloo.
Namanugaloo. The Naganumaloo.
Perfect. As usual, you can find us on iTunes. If you are listening to us on iTunes, please leave a rating. We would love to get some more ratings up there, so we'll have more visibility for people that want to find cool VGM podcasts. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/the VG Embassy. I'm going in between Pernell's coughing here.
I can't help it. His cherry is very feisty.
Feisty cherry Coke.
You didn't get sick on the way up here, did you?
No, it's a feisty cherry, man. You can't hold this thing back. It's just
I'll have to try that later.
It's just feisting.
feisting all over my
Feisting
throat.
too hard.
You may continue at it.
Oh, man. So we
Feisty!
popped Todd's Naganuma cherry, and the cherry is popping Pernell's throat.
cherry popping.
Feistily.
Yes.
It's going horrible places.
Yes, like throats. You can also find us on Twitter at the VG Embassy, or Instagram at the VG Embassy.
I just noticed it actually says feisty.
Yeah, this thing
Yeah.
has some kick.
It's a spicy cherry Coke. It's actually really good, but it's got some kick to it. And you can check out our Patreon. So I'm just going to roll with this. Check out our Patreon site at patreon.com/thevgembassy, or head right to my website, thevgembassy.com. You can leave comments there, and there are direct links to both my Patreon site and to my Discord site. And Discord server is currently hopping. People are commenting all the time. There are a lot of VGM podcasters and VG ambassadors and friends that hang out there, so join the conversation, please. Speaking of Patreon, I'd like to thank my Patreon patrons at the tourist level: Mr. Chris Murray, Mr. Cameron Childs. And sure you, Kenny.
All this time I've been saying his name is Cameron Chiles.
It's Childs.
It's Childs.
Childs.
I've been calling him Crandall.
The VG Emissaries, Scott McElhone, Chris Myers, Donovan Orofino, and Ben the Dyad Dishman.
Yeah.
The audio attaché level, Cameron Werme, some guy I just found on the street and made
That's you!
made him donate to my show. And Kung Fu Carlito and the VG Ambassador, our patron saint of VGM podcasts, Alex the Messenger. We share a lot of patrons. That's pretty cool.
No, I love.
He's out running scrolls between buildings and stage, checkpoints. So don't mind him.
Grinding and stuff like that.
Our ice hockey ninja, the messenger.
Yes, exactly. All right, so next show will be our, hopefully, as long as everything goes well with the equipment, the live recording of our Retro World Expo. Live recording of the Retro World Expo 2018 panel where not all 5 of us, Todd will be manning the cameras, but 4 of us at least will be presenting East versus West, Japanese and American, or Japanese and Western, I say, American and European composers with little kind of basic rundowns of each of the major consoles' sound chips. So it'll be educational and fun with some cool quizzes and some cool prizes. So
I'm really
great
excited
time.
about all of the dumb crowd stuff we're hopefully going to get a chance to do.
We've got so much stuff to pack into 50 minutes. It's not even funny.
And the music selection is incredible.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be happy if we just played music and just, listen to it with people and just left for the day.
Yeah. No, fans of 8 and 16-bit music will absolutely love the selection we've got. So
fans of 32-bit music, get out!
You're not allowed here.
Different expo.
You're totally allowed. It's Retro World Expo, not Modern World Expo. All right, guys.
It's all retro now, man.
Yeah, no kidding.
We will see you next time on the VG Embassy.
Bye. See ya.
Oh, goodbye.
Oh, crap! It's the cops! Get out! Run!